Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video of video game history. When we last left off, Nintendo was all the way at the bottom with their worst selling console yet, the Wii U. Xbox got very greedy with the Xbox One and their pre-release anti-consumer policies, however those were eventually changed. And PlayStation had peaked with the PS4 and PS4 VR being implemented into consoles. Now, we look forward to our modern generation. Will Nintendo finally be booted out of the market? Will the PS5 be this massive new console with so many innovations? And will Xbox finally do something new with their consoles? Well, let's find out. To kick off the 9th generation, the Nintendo Switch was released in 2017, only 5 years after the release of the Wii U. Most Nintendo fans, such as myself, were pretty worried about what the Switch could entail. The idea behind it was extremely experimental, choosing to combine both console and handheld aspects into a singular console. The console became known as a hybrid console, with detachable controllers made for multiplayer and a dock that you could put the console into high performance mode and cast the gameplay to a TV. This had never really been done before, but it was an incredibly innovative idea. The ads and marketing for the system and its games also held up the console, generating pre-release hype. The Switch was shaping up to be an incredible release, and that's exactly what we got. The release of the Nintendo Switch was phenomenal, to say the least. Most stores completely sold out of the console within days, and Nintendo kept the console at a pretty reasonable price at $299. Within less than a year, the Nintendo Switch had completely outsold the Wii U, mostly due to the phenomenal exclusives on the console, like Breath of the Wild, Splatoon 2, Mario Odyssey, and so many more. And this list only increased as time went on. 2019 saw the release of the Nintendo Switch Lite, a smaller handheld-only Nintendo Switch for only $199. And then 2020 happened. Yay! For many of us, 2020 was a dark year. But then there was Animal Crossing: New Horizons. New Horizons was released at a perfect time. Many non-gamers wanted something to play and relax with while stuck at home, and Animal Crossing was the perfect match at the time. So, people went to their nearest game store and bought a Nintendo Switch and Animal Crossing. Although, personally, I didn't really enjoy Animal Crossing because of its just slow pace and how simple it is. It wasn't for me. But I could understand why it was the main reason so many people bought the Nintendo Switch. It was a peaceful little escape from everything outside. And I think that was honestly amazing. And then sales kept rising and rising. More units sold each day. Then, 2021 had the release of the stronger Nintendo Switch, the Nintendo Switch OLED. Better speakers, better screen, better, well, everything. The hardware was also enhanced for the time, which was incredible considering the fact that a Lemon battery is more powerful than the Switch. Now, it was at least 3 lemons. However, just like any other console, the Nintendo Switch had its own faults. The Joy-Cons, the Nintendo Switch's controllers that could be detached from the consoles, were incredibly tightly packed with electronics, something that we've seen as an issue with the Xbox 360 before. If the electronics were to slightly shift or hit another part, the entire controller would either break, or, if you were incredibly unlucky, would cause different button presses to be inputted and stick drift to become a major problem. Of course, Nintendo was aware of this, and rather than trying to fix their mistake, they chose to gaslight everyone. Hello, this is Nintendo Supports. How may I help you?
Hey, so I'm calling because my controllers, they just kind of stopped working. Like I can't really use them to play games anymore, because they keep doing stuff that I am not doing.
What? Broken? No. You have no idea what you're talking. I don't even know what you're talking about. Broken Joy, please.
I mean, you sure? Plenty of people have the same issue. There's no way I'm the only one who's having this problem. I've heard it 5 other times this week.
No, you misunderstand. Your controllers aren't broken. They're just They're just experiencing a new feature that we just rolled out for the console.
Okay, well, like, is there anything I can do to fix them? Like, are there any settings I can screw with?
Fix what?
The controllers.
What about them?
They are broken. Hello?
What are controllers? Eventually, this issue was resolved with Nintendo releasing a very difficult and very hard to reach website that allowed you to send in your Joy-Cons and they'd repair them for a small price. And then there was the next issue. What next? The Switch was nearly perfect, and now Nintendo only had two main options. Either A, next generation they're going to once again split their handhelds and home consoles into different separate console things, or B, they keep remaking the Switch.
The Switch's idea was just too good, and it's hard to imagine where they go from here. And if Nintendo continues to remake the Switch, eventually they'll make a Switch 2, and the Wii U, Game Boy DS issues will all repeat again. Most will see it as the Switch. Again. Nintendo is in a very tricky situation, and I think that's why, despite the console being almost 7 years old, we have yet to hear about any information on a legitimate Nintendo Switch successor.
But with the Nintendo Switch all caught up on, it's time to move on to the next console. Google Stadia.
Bad cloud gaming service. Sucked immensely, but it was a half-decent idea. My only interaction with it was when I made a tweet talking about how the Stadia controller mashes a bunch of parts of other controllers like the PS4, Nintendo Switch Pro controller, and the Xbox One controllers kind of all into one and takes like their best parts. And then Google Stadia was like, glad you like our controller. And that's the most conversation I've ever had with Google Stadia. I haven't played anything on Google Stadia. It's never been something I wanted to do. I think that's funny.
Anyway, the Xbox One series systems. Not consoles, they're systems. They're just Xbox Ones, but better. Listen to me. They are not consoles. Hey everyone, I'm Green. You've probably seen me before. I was here too. I'll be filling in for Seb2 while he's sleeping. Anyway, the Xbox One series systems, since they're not consoles.
The Xbox Series S and X, designed to be a successor to the Xbox One. The series system served as somewhat of a transition while Xbox figured out what their next consoles were going to actually be. For the time, however, the series consoles would be released as newer, higher-end versions of the Xbox One with a lot more space, better online connectivity, and increased performance. And on November 10th, 2020, the consoles were released.
Very different looks for essentially twin consoles. The Series X was a massive, very sleek, very big, modern design to it. However, its overly blocky shape was a turnoff to many. But the S, with a only slightly worse resolution, was a much better and easier on the eyes console with its smaller design. Both were incredibly blocky and modern, but this had been seen previously with the Xbox One's release. Still, this was an incredibly underwhelming release, and most gamers opted to just not upgrade their consoles. After all, the Xbox Series consoles were just better Xbox Ones. There wasn't much of a change, and the marketing itself didn't really distinguish them enough. Most games that were labeled as Xbox Series S and X with a little sticker on the corner, they didn't really change much, and it didn't warrant the price. Plus, you could still play the made for Xbox S and S on a Xbox One with a slightly worse everything, but the game was still playable. Funnily enough, the Xbox Series consoles had the exact same problem that the Wii U had a generation prior.
Ultimately, the Xbox One once again fell short, but the new systems still did decently well. Within 3 years, the series consoles managed to sell half of the same amount as the Xbox One did in its entire 7-year lifetime. 30 million units. Granted, not the best, especially because now the sales will start to slow down. These low sales could be for a number of factors. Lack of interesting Xbox exclusives, for one, the overall disinterest in another Xbox One upgrade, and the price. The Series X was released for $499, but has dealt with significant price cuts since, and the Series S was released for $299. For a better version of an older console that you could just get used for about $100 or less, these prices were just not really worth it for many.
This includes me. I still have my original Xbox One, and I still haven't felt any need to upgrade it. Mostly due to the fact that there's not many major Xbox games that are coming out that are exclusive to the S and X systems. Hopefully with the 10th generation, Xbox will release something big and massive and a different console entirely. Maybe they'll innovate and start including VR, just like the PS4 did, into their system. However, on the topic of PlayStation, only 2 days after the Xbox Series release date, PlayStation released their own new console, the PS5.
Wow. Just wow. I have never really been a major PlayStation player, but this, wow. 4K gaming, 825 gigabytes of high-speed storage with a massive size being owed to its robust cooling system to ensure that the PS5 was quieter than the often loud PS4. All of this with enhanced versions of the old PS4 tech, allowing for near perfect and seamless backwards compatibility with the PS4's games, allowing them to be played in amazing new resolutions. The controllers also feature a lot of built-in motors, allowing for resistance on some of the controllers to be coded in for games, all with a sleek, futuristic design. An amazing contrast to the Xbox One's blocky and modern look.
This console is amazing! But then there's the price. And the 2 different variations on release. There were 2 different versions available at release. The fully digital version for $399 and the disc version for $499. Absolutely massive amounts, especially for a console. And then there was the release. For the first couple of months after this console was released, it was nearly impossible to find this console anywhere in stores. It was just being sold out so quickly that I'm pretty sure there was websites that people would make on whether or not a Walmart had a PS5 in stock. With thousands being sold every day, no one had any opportunity to buy one of their own. So much so that eBay scalpers began reselling these consoles for almost double, maybe even triple or more of the original base price to just get extra money, and then the cycle would repeat and then get like infinite cash. However, eventually production sped up to meet consumer demand, and here we are now where you can basically go into most Walmarts and you'll find a PS5 of your own. But that was just the start. What about now?
Obviously, the state of the PS5 now is a lot better. Anyone who wants a PS5 can go to their local game store, and if they're out of stock, they'll likely be back within a week. But what about the games? The PS4 had some amazing exclusives, not to mention the massive addition of the PS4 VR. However, the PS5 doesn't really have much of this. Only 2 major games, with the rest either flying under the radar or being re-releases or remakes. Spider-Man 2 and Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. The PS5 also had a new VR system, the PS VR 2. All that was really changed was better graphics and more advanced motion and eye tracking, and better controllers for tracking. Aside from that, not much else changed. regardless of the state of the PS5, its sales were doing incredibly. 50 million units in only 4 years, completely outmatching the Xbox Series systems by a solid 20 million units, and this number is only going to go up from here. Of course, these sales will only go further up as the PS5 Slim and Pro models are released. Side note that wasn't included in the script, I genuinely feel like the reason why there's less PlayStation 5 exclusives that were released is I think PlayStation either has big plans for their future exclusives, or they're going way more into quality over quantity of games, because the graphics just look so realistic and beautiful while still maintaining the look that they aren't in our own world. They're games, but it's still incredible, just the level of detail that the PS5 is able to produce. So big shout out to the teams working on the games. You are doing amazing.
And so that was it. The Nintendo Switch was doing phenomenally well, especially after the failure of the Wii U. The Xbox Series consoles weren't doing too well, mostly due to a lack of difference between that and the original Xbox One. The PS5 was doing amazing for only 4 years on the market and a shaky original release. And Google Stadia showed us nothing, other than how tightly knit the current console wars are and how difficult it is to get a new competitor into that space. But with all this talk about the modern generation, it's difficult to imagine what consoles will look like in the next generation, Gen 10. So, what will consoles look like for Gen 10?
Hey everyone, sorry to interrupt, but with our Seb 2 out, Seb, will be taking over for now in reading the script that was previously made by a real human. Now, on to the future of gaming. Just to be clear, these are non-AI ideas and my own ideas. Would they ever happen? Probably not. But could they? Absolutely. Firstly, Xbox. With the Xbox One only getting remastered for General 9, my idea for Xbox's General 10 console is the Xbox Infinity. Essentially, the Xbox would become a customizable PC build. The base console would come with the PC frame and basic parts. From there, Xbox can release new parts to keep up with hardware as it's developed. The console itself is ever-changing as the console industry develops, and it's infinitely customizable, hence the name, not to mention the fact that Xbox has slowly been stepping into the C world with their parent company, Microsoft, releasing computers and with Game Pass being available on CSE. All of this kinda just lines up well with the direction Xbox is going. Next, PlayStation. Obviously, the next step is the Psy-6. But what would it include? Well, I'm thinking the console will go fully digital with ways to upload past games onto the system, better VOS support, and an Ultra 4K display. I also think that PlayStation will step back into the handheld industry, for a reason I'll mention later. Maybe, for General 11, the 7 will be similar to the Xbox Infinity, but that's just wishful thinking. PlayStation will likely be one of the last true console experiences as everyone switches to cloud gaming or cease. Speaking of switching, where would Nintendo go? I personally think General 10 will be the death of Nintendo. As it stands, Nintendo doesn't have much they can do with their next console. As I mentioned before, either they go back to separate handheld and console experiences, or they go full console, or they make the Switch 2. As far as leaks, right now, the Switch 2 is most probable, but if it is called the Switch 2, Nintendo's sales will fall again, just like with the Wii to Wii U, Game Boys, and DS systems. And if Nintendo goes full console, there will be a gap in the handheld market, perfect for PlayStation to take with their handheld. Regardless, I feel Nintendo's time is beginning to come to an end. After the state of the Wii U's failures and what their future looks to be turning into, they don't have much time left. Calling it now by General 15, at the latest, Nintendo will be gone. But with Nintendo out of the market, likely becoming a third-party developer like Sega who will step in, well, hear me out. Google Stadia 2. Yes, Google Stadia sucked, but I have a new idea for Google Stadia. Google can go and purchase companies and their past catalogs and have them all available on one system. Retro games, new releases, remakes, and so much more. Google has the money to do this. They could buy developers like Rare, Sega, and Nintendo and have their games on Stadia too. Not to mention, the support Stadia 2 could give to indie titles with the platform. Yes, I know I basically just described Steam. Speaking of Steam, Stadia could absolutely integrate Steam as part of its system. All of these different games on one system, whether it's a console or a cloud gaming service or an app. This could, in theory. Google just needs to do it right and market it all correctly. So yeah, those are my predictions for General 10. Will they come true? Probably not, but they're pretty great ideas in my opinion. Anyway, I've been Azebud. Have a great one.